I'm Sheila Thompson, the creator of the Father's Day Project. You know, the role of a father has in bringing up a well-adjusted person can never be understated. What is a real man? How do you become a real man? For this topic, I reached out to my friend, public speaker, and best-selling author, Gordon Dalbey. And now, I'm really excited here to introduce to you this 10-part video series with Gordon Dalbey and Warwick Marsh. Each video in the series speaks to a specific aspect of being a man and what a boy needs to become a man in order to raise his own children. If the words resonate with you, please share it with others. And thank you. You know, if you were even a little bit spiritual, just a little bit, or believe that there's more to this world than what meets the eye, just think of your father's affection as a transfer of spiritual energy that you can't touch, that you can't see, but you can feel and remember. And for the rest of your life, no matter how long your life, you are going to be looking to make that connection with other people.
Well, Sons of the Father, there's a chapter here called Seeking the Brown Ooze. Now that doesn't sound a lot like anything. It's almost weird.
I know.
But I've read it and I think it's fantastic. Tell us some of the stories from that chapter.
Yeah, I was praying with this one guy and, you know, all of us, he just was, you know, we finally got to problems with his girlfriend, problems with his job. Finally, he was real enough to say, you know, I wish my dad had talked to me about girls and wished he talked about these things like that. And I said, well, you know what? Just tell me a little bit about your boyhood. Do you remember any times when you were really close to we really felt close to your dad? And he thought, I mean, he had to really think for a few minutes. And he says, you know, there was a time actually. He says, I remember when I must have been about 5 or 6 years old. My older brother was about a year older than I was. We'd been cutting the grass together. Dad was outside working on some stuff in the yard. And afterwards, we had a hammock out back. Dad got in the hammock, just beckoned us all to come out, and we jumped in the hammock with him, all three of us. And he had his arm around my brother and around me, and we're just kind of swinging the hammock. And he said, it was like, I felt something coming out of my dad, going into me that I wanted from a man. And I said, well, what was it? He said, well, it felt kind of like a brown ooze. A brown ooze? What is that? He said, that's the only word I can put on it. He says it was something real, it was palpable, I could feel it. But there's no word in English language for it. I was getting something from my dad that was feeding me as a boy that I needed desperately for him. And I banked on later as a man. Just having my dad around me like
Robert Bly talks about the brown ooze.
Yes.
He talks about the male cells
yes.
singing.
He's got some good takes on that.
What was his? I was just trying to remember what he said about.
He talks about even when a boy is, you know, making arrowheads with his father hundreds of years ago in the Native Americans or something like that, or whether he's fixing a carburetor with his dad, or whether he's I think with my son, we're starting a fire at the campsite or something like that. Something transpires. It's not because you're talking together and, you know, asking the right questions or something happens. There's a connection. And that's when you talk about masculinity, there's a spiritual dimension. Here's where Western culture is totally inadequate because we don't have a spiritual perspective on life. We've abdicated that because it reminds us when you're in the spirit realm, you're not in control. That's what my most recent book, No Small Snakes, is all about. I mean, it's like when I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Nigeria, I remember stopping to chat with one of the fellows in the village one night. He started talking to me about spirits that had come into his house the night before. Spirits, I just smirked. Oh, you don't believe in spirituality and stuff. I was 19 years old, just out of college, you know. He says, sir, there's no such thing as a small snake. Spirits, snakes, what does he mean? He said, in our country, every snake is poisonous. Is that true in Australia? Most of them are. We don't take any chances. We've got some of the most
poisonous snakes in the world here in Australia.
I know that. My son was reminding me of that last night on the phone when I talked to him. Anyhow, he said, all snakes are poisonous. You take the strongest, huskiest, muscular, toughest man walking down a bush path, and the littlest snake just hatched out of an egg bites him, he's dead. And I'm sitting there thinking, my Western mentality is totally shattered. I don't have a clue what he's talking about. It took me years to figure out what he's saying. Say, sir, hello, hello. Get the fuzz out of your Western, European-centered mindset. We're living in a realm of spirituality, and spirits are real, powerful. And the littlest element in the spirit realm is more powerful than anything you can conjure up in your flesh.
You know, I've found that myself, Gordon. I worked a lot with Aboriginal people.
Absolutely.
And I've been in the deserts of Australia. I've been in the Kimberleys, northwestern Australia, and the top of Arnhem Land. And the Aboriginal people are very spiritual people.
Absolutely.
And in fact, they have dogs. The reason they have a lot of dogs in their camp, I don't know if you know this or not, but is actually the dogs actually bark. From their point of view when the spirits come around. But I've learnt more about spirituality, I've learnt more about faith, I've learnt more about the things that really matter from a lot of my Aboriginal friends than I have from a lot of my more learned colleagues who've got white skin, who can talk with a forked tongue.
You don't have to convince these people that there's a spirit realm, because there's a humility in non-Western European cultures that Europeans have all the guns and all the money, and that enforces our pride and our unreality.
It's actually, there's an arrogance there in Western culture, isn't there?
Terrible arrogance. And we pay dearly for it.
We pay dearly for it.
We die for it.
We die for
and the people around, and people, men of color, are not handicapped like that. But see, when you talk about what you said about masculine having spiritual dimension, if you don't have a spiritual view of life, you're not going to understand masculinity, and certainly not going to get healed of your wounds.
This brown ooze, we just wanted to put that into a simple sentence again. I know I'm asking a lot because we're talking about deep things here, but how can we just sort of round this conversation up?
That every boy longs to be fed by his father in his masculine soul. Every boy longs for a closeness with his dad. Something that, and when he does, something transmits from the father to the son that is intangible, and I would dare say spiritual.
And this works for daughters too, doesn't it? Really?
I believe it does. I believe it does. Oh yes, very strong. And I wish Mary were here; she could speak much more strongly for me. Oh yes, a father who can hug his daughter in a godly way and bless her like that. Oh, once she gets that hug from her daddy, what does she need to go out on the street for it for? She's already got what she really wants.
Yes.
Okay, but that brown ooze is something every boy longs for, and every girl too. And without it, we have to go back to the source of where it comes from originally. The God who created all dads puts it in a father to give to his son. And if you can't get it from your earthly father, then we have to go directly to the source. And that's where you're going to get it.
Gordon, I just want to say thank you for your time. I really appreciate these words of wisdom. It's really fantastic.
My pleasure.